Hello and welcome to Hard Copy from our channel's television studios in Abuja. I'm Kayla Magwa. Tonight, we're having a State of the Nation conversation. Some people have described the Tinubu administration as one of the most scandal-prone governments we've ever had. The truth is, it isn't. We've had administrations that were more scandalous. But recent events inform this assertion. While we are still wrapping our heads around the Presidential Foreign Intervention Promotion Council scandal, recent comments from the president's spokesperson following the revelations made by John Cardinal Onnaekon after the Catholic bishops meeting with the president is causing ripples again, and the back and forth on this matter from the opposition. Pundits and the president's media team are adding fuel to an already heated political space at a time where the Nigerian people are still trying to grapple with another Muslim ticket from the ruling APC. Meanwhile, insecurity continues unabated. And that brings us to another scandal. Allegations made by the president of the Borno South Youth Alliance, Samaila Kaigama, accusing a sitting senator of being involved in ransom collection for kidnapped Nigerians. Mr. Kaigama is now in police custody, and it's all very shocking to listen to. Meanwhile, an intelligence and data analytics firm, CellHub, has raised concerns over what it's describing as a recurring surge in terrorism and banditry ahead of every presidential election in Nigeria since 2015. And they're urging authorities to launch a public investigation before the 2027 general election. Last week on this program, we had the SSA to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on community relations from the Northwest, Mr. Yakasai, who told us blatantly that the federal government must rehabilitate and reintegrate repentant terrorists if it wants to win the war against insurgency. For him, the pushback against this from the National Assembly and the Nigerian public is because these rehabilitations and reintegrations are not being done properly. We have quite a lot to unpack tonight with my guest, Professor Okeke-Chukwu, the Executive Director of Development Specs Academy. Okeke-Chukwu, welcome again to Hard Copy.
Thank you.
I feel like you're.
I hope we can get a soft copy this time.
I feel like you're our mental health break on this program. when it gets a little saturated, we kind of get Professor okay, let's
let him come and distill it.
Let's distill. Let's do this. So let's try. Too many scandals. Off camera, we're just talking about the fact that, I'm surprised because this presidency has been in the works for a very long time, since before Buhari came into power. The talk about a Tinubu presidency had been around. So I thought that by now, when he did come into power, when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came into power, that he would have a team that is conscious of nuance, conscious of scandals and what it can do to a man who takes legacy very seriously. But you said you were not surprised.
Not at all. Please tell me at what point in his political life in Lagos that there was no scandal? And at what point most of those around him were also not there. So there's nothing surprising. Which is not to say that when you speak of scandal, this government is the only one or is the worst. But we need to place a particular fact on the table that has been trailed by scandals for a long time. As governor, the certificate issue came up. As governor, the tax collection thing came up, among so many other things. On the good side, he brought all the area boys under control, put them to use, and it was possible for Akpogmo to be Lagos Island not to be as dangerous as it was. But at the federal level, a single scandal can damage even a very good government. But when a government is trailed repeatedly, it becomes an issue. Recall the National Honors List.
Oh, yeah.
The kind of names that got in there, they had to be expunged.
Yes.
Who was punished after that?
No one.
Thank
you. Fizzled out. It's even as you said it now that I remembered.
Yes.
that was
Then
a scandal.
move further to presidential pardon, which was different from national honors. Some names came up.
Yes.
Which had quite a frightening number of people with drug-related cases.
Cases, yes.
Who was punished?
No one.
So I don't need to go on. The scandals happen within a presidency where somebody should be able to say, this is Mr. A's job. How come it wasn't done? And nothing happens. It tells you that there's something that's going on there we don't understand or that nobody is embarrassed about. Because the whole issue about integrity is that there are things you look at and say, no, this cannot be connected with me. But then when some people feel that, oh, it will pass, others say, oh, we'll talk about it, we'll talk around it, and Nigerians will get tired, you will actually get away with it, but only for a while. And so progressively you find that you may dominate the space, you may be the only voice people are hearing, but that's different from whether anybody believes you. And you see that most of the time the communication we get is that of affirmation. Oh, we have done this. Can't you see this reform is there? Nobody is denying the reforms. The concern of Nigerians is impact, positive impact, impact on lives. If I come to channels and say I'm carrying out reform and I repaint the studios, get you new cameras, arrange new automated equipment, no improvement on salaries, I haven't fixed a leaking roof, you can say I've dealt with infrastructure, but not the human resource, which is the substance, the essence of channels television. And that's why when you look at the opposition, you shake your head in dismay. I'm familiar with political opposition at national and international levels, and also within the history of our country between the 60s and now. We've never in the history of the Federal Republic of Nigeria had a more incompetent, more unfocused, more delusional opposition, as incapable of taking what the government is handing to it to use it to make a proper argument for its replacement. But again, that's part of our national evolution, where we think that opposition is speech-making. Where we forget that, what do you call him? The elder statesman, late Obafemi Awolowo, gave us the best template for political opposition. It's ideological. You drive the narrative. Sir Ahmadu Bello had a position everybody knew him for. M.I. Okpara, you know, these are men. Today, we have people who come to public office based on, if you like, conspiracy and negotiation. They really don't stand for anything if you pay close attention. That's why today, you can't get anybody to really recall the names of 5 previous governors from any part of the Federation. That's why today you see people talk about Lateef Jakonde, Simon Bakwe, Hassan Katsina, even a military governor in the north, amongst them. Why are we talking about them? They represented something. And that's when you come to opposition and you find that Atiku and Peter Obi are front runners. And people are saying that, oh, you know, some people are supporting him because he's from the ethnic group. Rubbish. If today Lateef Jakonde were to reincarnate and contest for president, many people who are supporting Peter Obi will drop Peter. Go and check Lateef Jakonde's record or Simon Bakwe. That's what they are missing. That for some people, Peter has come to represent a level of capacity and competence they will want to relate to. And so they are talking about an Igbo man and all of that. Peter has incredible personal shortcomings. He was a good administrator in the public domain for the period he was in office. So it's not about him. And also it's not about Yoruba or Tinubu. It's about a government that does not have a very impressive record in terms of its impact on citizen welfare. Those are the issues. Insecurity is up, inflation is up, income is stagnant, transport cost is up, CNG has not come even though it was promised. If you have a CNG car today, you'll be lucky if you can get it after standing for 4 hours, among so many other things. Imagine that government spokesperson come out to outline these challenges and say, look, they are real. We didn't expect they will happen. This is what we are trying to do about it, etc. It shows you have a little respect for the citizens. Let me stop there for the initial comment.
Let's try. Yeah. Let's see if we can take the issues one after the other. Yeah. So yes, the update is that the Chief of Staff to the President has been cleared of this embarrassing story. Maybe we're too sensitive, me and you. Maybe we feel embarrassed too quickly because all the players seem to be doing very well with themselves. No one seems ashamed. Everyone is still, I mean, the Chief of Staff has been cleared. And so now an investigation into the man behind. Going on. Mm-hmm. And then trying to get us, and we hear there are 2 other agencies in addition to the PFIPC that he purportedly created. It's such a, I mean, the weight of this loophole, the weight of this lapse is one that I would be embarrassed if I was in government to be associated with anything like that.
So you're probably wondering why I said I wasn't surprised?
Yes.
When we're talking off camera.
I mean,
not.
So he has been cleared of that, but of course the investigation into this is going. Let's talk about where we are on this embarrassing situation just in a few minutes, because there are so many to get.
Yes,
to.
there are many.
So you know, what next in your view?
No. There's no what next. They've established that it was the organization, the agency wasn't properly set up. The documents were forged. Those whose names were used were not, as having validated it, did not do so. And I think the other good point about the investigation is that it also pointed out that agencies that were not on top of their game in terms of compliance monitoring, that people were going to be prosecuted and all of that. So yeah, that's it. But let's look at the broader picture. You know, it's like if you say, oh, we're now going to deal with the people, ADMA is not the only one. So who are others? Let them be lined up. ICPC, fortunately, has said is also lining up other people. But we should also go back and line up other people who were responsible for previous scandals, like the pat-down, among other things. But then, you know, when you're doing political analysis of contemporary events, you must look at the history of similar events in the same environment. Recall that IPPS, I think that's what the salary system. Yes. Recall the massive fraud that was discovered. Who was in charge at the time? Okonjo-Iweala.
Well, there's a news. This is one of the scandals today because ghost workers were.
Police has the highest number.
The police has the highest number of ghost workers under the same IPPIS system.
Yes. So the thing has always been there. There's always been scandals. People who are in public office, but they are not doing what they're supposed to do. And I'll cite an example. When I was special assistant to the Minister of Information and National Orientation, the minister approached the president, that's Chief Chukwuemeka Chikelo, and said that the ideal thing is for ministries to be professionalized. The president agreed, gave special authorization for the minister to be in a position to accept or reject postings based on professional. Because if you come there, it's supposed to be a ministry filled with information and communication professionals. They were less than 20 or 10% for all I know. So the first batch of letters that came for us from the Civil Service Commission, from which the minister could decide, I want this one, I don't want. It was 25 letters. Only 20 actually came from the Civil Service Commission. The rest were exactly the same letters, but there's a syndicate that collect money and fit you in. That's one. Two, 1 month in particular, the salary bill fell short by 90 million. And everybody in the ministry, there was nobody being owed. Yes, the minister set up a committee that went around all the states, because you know the information ministry has states all over the federation, and came back and found out we had 300 staff that didn't exist in the ministry. Quickly, I don't know who, but for one thing, the files began to disappear from where they were kept. And we later found that an official letter had been written from the ministry, not through the minister's office, informing anybody who was interested that, oh, those numbers were because of postings. They were not updated. But so it's not about, it's about a nation that has collapsed to the point that people don't know there is no government that is the primary source of employment anywhere on earth. So people are looking for jobs. They are looking for opportunity to earn a pay. That's different from looking for work. And so you find that offices that were designed to contain 4 people, sometimes there are 11 staff in that office. Some of them don't need to come every day of the week. But going back to the substantive issue of these scandals, the scandal is real. It is good they've cut it up to a point. It's also good that ICPC has even discovered 2 others outside the brief it was given. That means it was thorough, it was organized. Let's see what happens next.
EFCC and the shutting down of the Osun State accounts. The president has given an order for that account to be, for them to vacate that order. it was very confusing. It made all of us go back and read the Constitution again, because I needed to understand if the EFCC had the powers to do what they did. Was there a court order backing their decision? Does the president's directive go against what a court order said? The timing of the thing, is this some kind of victimization? What's the relationship between the present governor and the former governor? And the killings that have been happening in Osun State in the run-up to these elections?
Well, for me, the primary question is not even is the legal and constitutional one of whether, no matter what ruling a court has given, whether the president or a president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria can direct a court of competent jurisdiction to withdraw, quote-unquote, a verdict, if indeed there's one. That is the primary issue.
But
I read the full text.
I don't think there is one. It does feel like there was something about a state court, but there's something about the fact that this has to be done by a federal high court, and there's no federal high court ruling. But the EFCC also has the right to stop a state account for 72 hours, in which time they can, in the first instance. So they were within the 22 hours, which now brings me to the case that the governor is bringing against the EFCC. But this is a lot to unpack. Let's go on a short break. When we come back from the break, we'll see how we can break that down, and even if possible, talk about other situations. So please stay with us on Hard Copy. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Hard Copy. If you've just joined us, Professor Okeke Chukwu is our guest tonight, and we're unpacking the scandals of the Tinubu administration, if we can. Thank you so much for making out the time to be with us. We're talking about the Osun State matter.
Yeah. And I was about to say that if you look at the statement from the presidency explaining why the intervention became necessary, part of what the president was quoted to have said was that he does not and will not interfere with the functions and activities of the EFCC, etc. But that very statement is the intervention, is the interference, the opposite, is a violation and contradiction of the claim being made. And it's also predicated on the presumption that there was actually a court ruling or judgment or whatever, which means it would appear the presidency also didn't have the full facts, but there is also assumed that there was a court judgment and then was directing. No, it doesn't happen. It's not just that we're in a presidential system. The executive arm of government cannot issue instructions to the judicial arm on what to do. That's one. Two, if indeed the EFCC have the right and the powers to freeze an account for 72 hours, and he did so, and it was directed to reverse it within the period where he had a rightful and lawful exercise of his powers, then the presidency is becoming dictatorial. What special interest did the presidency set out to protect? And when you read the explanation,
the backlash from the Nigerian public may have pushed the president to say, look, we are losing simply because remember the APC is also running for office in that state. So if you're doing something as the APC and it's kind of swaying people against you, you're cutting off your nose to spite your face.
Yes, but it suggests it's taken to mean that it was an APC conspiracy that led to the
but the governor accused
yes,
the minister.
that's what I'm saying, yes, that he was the one behind it. I don't know whether it's true or not. But the primary issue on the table is this. Should the presidency have done what he did?
Should they?
No. The answer is no.
No?
Let me tell you. Let me give my perspective rather than let me tell you. It said that the freezing of the account, it's a bit of an elaborate text, is also given the election that's in view, and all that, and so it's not fair, it's not right for it to be frozen. Now, what kind of argument is that? And coming from the presidency? On whose behalf? Oh, the government needs to spend money, so release the account. That can be done, but through the courts. Not as an instruction, not as a press release. That's why I think they got it wrong. The optics are terrible. In itself is a bigger scandal than the rest, but because here is one arm of government directing another arm of government and a court of competent jurisdiction to reverse a decision, not through the office of the Attorney General of the Federation, who said he's calling a meeting, but from the president commander-in-chief.
I think that's where the misunderstanding for me is, because I don't know of a court that has an order that the EFCC acted on. Because the EFCC said they were acting on their own
law.
Internal investigations, which in that case gives them the right to shut down the state account for 72 hours. And they were within those 72 hours when Governor Adeleke did the press statement, and then the president responded. They were still within their 72 hours. So I think maybe that one...
Maybe that's where the confusion is from, probably for me also.
Yeah.
But the point is that the fact that they are within their legal mandate, at the point the intervention was made, that is where I can speak of poor optics.
Well, it didn't look good. Well, it did bring up the conversation about, states that have incumbents running for political office. Should we be shutting down their... So they don't use... It's true, because if you're running for an election against an incumbent, the person is going to use state resources. State resources against whether you can prove it or not, he's going to do it. So should there be some kind of standing order that you do not touch?
No, you can't give that kind of... You see...
We cannot.
No, we can't. The EFCC is a proper institution of state. The ICPC is a proper institution of state. We cannot direct any of these investigative agencies ab initio not to investigate anything. Or if it's election time, don't freeze state accounts. That would actually be encouraging a leadership banditry. No. If a leader is misusing state resources and you can confirm it, remember arrests were made of, I think, of the SSG who was distributing cash. Some physical cash was seized.
Well, they said 4 million was found in his house.
Yes.
If I came to your house, wouldn't you have some money somewhere to give guests when they come to beg you for money for one thing or the other? People can have money in their houses.
If I'm going home for Christmas.
If you were going home for Christmas.
But you see, no. Let's leave the abuses we are seeing in public office. If you, Kayla, you are a secretary to government of the Federation, you have 4.8 million in your house to give guests when they come. From where? What's your salary? On what basis should anybody come to your house and expect to be given money? If you're given money, your uncle should come and ask you where the money is coming from. Your pastor should say, or your imam will say, my daughter, we don't understand this. Your chief, your traditional ruler will not give you existence as we need to explain this. All of that has been destroyed. That's why we are, in fact, it's the more embarrassing. So forget the politics of the state. The primary point is that as a government functionary, if you're found with a certain amount of physical cash, that in itself is sufficient reason to think of investigation. If it's not tied to any project, not tied to any matter, even if it's tied to a project and you're holding 4.8, you ask, does this exceed the amount of cash payment approved by law? It's an intricate matter.
All is fair in politics.
I disagree.
The president was wrong.
Absolutely. And I've had cause to say this before. There is the law we make, and there's the law of nature. Because you're very hungry and you want to eat a lot of food, you put some through your mouth, you put some through your nose. It's taking too long, you cut open your stomach and stuff it directly into the stomach. You won't die actually, at least until probably a few days. All is not fair in politics. First, there's law, and therefore there's rule of law.
The attack on John Cardinal and Icon, and the fact that Rotimi Amechi decided to make it an attack on Catholics in general. I'm Catholic, and I felt in many ways that, okay, well, this is going in a direction I didn't think it was going to go to.
And it shouldn't go to.
But the thing is that John Cardinal Onaikan could have been Pope. You know, he is one of the most high up Catholics. He's a cardinal. He can do conclave. You know, these are very important things to us Catholics. Did you think the vitriol from the presidency was a little too harsh for a man of his stature?
No. Let's start by contextualizing. You see, Onaikan is a man I respect a lot. I was a Catholic. I served Mass. I was in Block Rosary Crusade. He comes close to the Almighty.
Yes,
For the Catholic, the Almighty on earth is the Pope. So that revered status he has does not exist outside the Catholic Church. Catholics must remember that. That Onaikan is, and in his own person, is such a decent person that even if you don't know he's a Catholic, you like and respect him. Having said that, the views he expressed to the president, how many of us share it? I share the view. I believe that what they said showed they were in touch with the suffering of Nigerians, so they carried out their duty as responsible citizens. As for Rotimi Amechi's remarks, even if you're not a Catholic, even if you don't believe in any divinity, there's what you call maintaining social grace while in public office.
Oh, yeah.
There's a dignity to an office that enables you to give due respect to those who are respected by others while disagreeing on point with them.
I mean, the grown-up in the room was the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. Funny, yeah. Mr. George Akume became the adult in this situation and said, we're going to engage further. I mean...
But then the waters were already muddy.
Oh, yes.
And that's another scandal. The inability of the government to show evidence of control of those who speak in its name. That's why you find them contradicting each other. That's why you find them more eager to tell you, oh, this is what government is doing, than to tell you this is how it's affecting the people for the better, than to say, oh, we know this one is not affecting people well. We didn't expect it, but we've seen it, and this is what we are now doing or planning to do about it. It's not part of the conversation. And therefore, you find that the president, high and mighty and high and dry, is not getting the right feedback.
I want you to talk to us about what the presidency should be doing. The scandals are a lot. And for a man, and you know, this was how we started, for a man who I believe, that's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, takes legacy very seriously. What should he be doing if he wins the mandate of the people? Should he change these spokespeople? Should there be some kind of orientation on how to talking nuanced with the fact that we're doing legacy here with this man as president?
Well, I frankly, between us, I don't know about legacy, with all due respect to those who differ. Secondly, he should change not just spokespersons. He should sit down, assuming he's coming back, and completely recalibrate governance. What was it I achieved in my first term, and how long did it take me to achieve that? What's the competence of those I work with? What sort of people should I work with, since I'm not likely to come back and want to live in Nigeria that Nigerians would say, yeah, it's Tinubu who left us this Nigeria. You get? Might even begin to call him Uncle Bola for that purpose. But as it is now, the ingredients for that new trajectory, I'm not seeing it. There's more concern about coming back than about leadership and about any narrative about the future. The reforms are there. There are so many. They are wonderful. And we're told, look at the fight against insurgency. There's the good news. They killed the deputy chief of ISIS.
Yeah.
We should celebrate that.
Okay.
Why? What has the deputy chief of ISIS got to do with you and I? People are kidnapped on Lokoja Road. And the example I've used on air and in writing is that you're from Mbise in Imo State.
Yes.
Within Mbise, there are pickpockets. There are people who are stealing up and down, going to harvest yams, and waylaying people. And you now come to announce to Mbise people, as the traditional ruler, that look.
The deputy head of ISIS.
No. That one big thief has been arrested in Abeokuta. You can see we are dealing with insecurity in Mbise. Kela.
Well,
that is the mess called...
They're doing what they can.
Look.
But, you know, yes, I do know where you're coming from on this.
So if you, assuming government says that and say this, Nigerians should know that this is a major achievement at the international level. It doesn't remove the fact that challenges are on ground. And we're also in the same manner likely to be dealing with these challenges progressively and instrumentally. But to give it as a landmark achievement in the fight against banditry, kidnapping and insurgency in Nigeria, that's a scandal.
All right, well, we are totally out of time, but I have to thank you so much, Professor Chukwu. It's never enough time. It's never
Just
enough.
when I get ready for the interview, it ends.
It's never enough time. But we do have to thank you so much for being with us on Hard Copy. And hopefully we'll have you again for another mental health break in a few months as we get ready for these elections.
Very well, thank you.
That's Hard Copy this week. I'm Kayla Megwa. Good night.